Good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible and visible to all the candidates. I said good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible and visible. If I can get a yes or no, that helps me to understand that yes, things are good to go. Am I audible and visible? If you can type under the chat box and let me know. Oh, great. Okay, so a very warm welcome to all of you, and I welcome all of you on behalf of Degree 2 Placements. Today's session for CA qualifieds for May 26. We will be having a conversation today on international taxation. So for that we have with us CA Fatema Kachwala. Fatima has joined in. Fatima, are you there? So if you can switch on your camera,
Yes,
that will
sir.
help.
Yeah. Am I audible, visible?
Yes, you're audible as well as visible.
Okay.
So let me just have a small demography check from where all we are having the session. So here we have, can all the candidates please let me know from where they are logging in, from where they are attending this session, so we get a demography check and Fatima comes to know that who she is addressing to. Tushar is from Haryana, great. Alagu Shivam is from Chennai, as I remember he has been a regular attendee. Yes. So right from North India to South India you have the bandwidth, and Fatima herself is logging in from Hyderabad. So yes, good to see. And we have another regular visitor, Saraswati. Saraswati, you need to mention your city, beta, so that the speaker comes to know.
Hi, sir. Good evening. I'm from Madurai, Tamil Nadu.
Okay, great, Saraswati. Khushi is from Mumbai. Shankar is from Chennai. Pranav Pai from Karnataka. Wow, so the Western India, Northern India, Southern India, and Central India all covered. So I just need someone from Kolkata side so that we'll get that the whole coverage of our country. Assam, see? Great. So from everywhere we have the candidates. And let me introduce now. Okay, so I think it's 7:05. Let's respect time for everybody who has joined in. On behalf of Degree 2 Placements, I am Chartered Accountant Deepak Mulchandani, the founder of this particular dream, where we try to help Chartered Accountants understand various fields and understand the real nitty-gritties of what it requires to be into various lines of service. This is a pro bono, in other words, a free exercise which has been going on for last 17 years. Students and candidates like Fatima and other people have started giving this name called Degree 2 Placements. So here we are on to the 18th year of it. Now all these things get uploaded and then they are available in the archive so that you can refer them. And on behalf of all of you, I would like to welcome Chartered Accountant Fatema Kachwala. Fatima has been a rank holder in CA Foundations, and then she completed her articleship at Indore with Fatnis and Gupta, and then completed her chartered accountancy. And after chartered accountancy, she started working for GT, Grant Thornton, and after Grant Thornton, she has now moved to EY, into international taxation. It has been a very exciting journey, and I am lucky and I am proud also that I have been a witness of this journey. And I am so proud to say that I was fortunate enough to be one of the teachers to Fatima at foundation and intermediate level. Fatima, all over to you.
Okay. So, hello everyone. As sir introduced, I'm not a very experienced here. Okay, I've qualified just a while back, I think 2 years back now. And let me give a brief introduction about myself. Then I'll guide you through my journey to international taxation. And then we can move on to what all aspects does international taxation cover and how can you as a fresh chartered accountant enter into this world of international taxation. Okay, so a brief introduction about myself. I completed my articleship from Furness and Gupte, like Sir mentioned. Uh, since it was a mid-sized firm, I was very privileged to have like a very varied and vast exposure and not just, concentrated to one field. So I had exposure in assurance, taxation, and all other managerial financial work. Post that, I completed my chartered accountancy qualification and I joined Grant Thornton in the assurance domain. And very recently, I've shifted from assurance to taxation. Now, when usually people go through my profile, they're very confused that you were in assurance for a year or so, and then you shifted to international taxation, which doesn't make much sense. I mean, it's a great shift, but how is that shift even possible? Right? It's like starting from scratch. So, not true. Actually, statutory audit is a field which gives you a very varied exposure in terms of assurance as well as other aspects of a business, including taxation. So once you begin your journey with statutory audit, you're not confined to statutory audit for the rest of your career. You can very easily shift from that domain into any other domain which is relevant and you have the acquired skills for it. I joined EY back in March. That is very recent. And since then, the journey has been very fun in international taxation. Now, let me give you a brief about international taxation. What exactly do we do? Because we don't get a very big practical exposure during our articleship as a normal, article assistant in a mid-sized or even a big-sized firm, unless and until you are specifically placed into that domain. And we don't have very much theoretical knowledge on it either, because that's not a part of our curriculum in that depth in what we work, in the sense of what we work, right? So international taxation is what people usually understand from international taxation is just TP compliance, but it's not the case. International taxation is actually a very broad umbrella and it is an ever expanding domain. It's a very niche domain. Not everyone can not everyone is able to enter this domain. Not everyone can contemplate this domain. It requires a very specific sort of skill set. You have to be very observant, very quick to act on, and you have to have a very broad thinking for it. Because unlike corporate taxation or indirect taxation, for which we have like very defined laws. Okay, we have laws, we have rules, we have many other things that completely guide us on what exactly needs to be done. We just need to follow it step by step. International taxation, although is a part of direct taxation and has certain rules and regulations mentioned in it, it is a very different ball game when you enter in on field as a CA working in that domain. Um, International taxation, now, if I broadly classify, comes into can be classified into two major heads. One is your usual litigation and all that procedural filing work that we do. And the second part of it is consultancy and advisory. Now, when we go into litigation part, okay, so this is something people might be familiar with because this is something that is governed by an act. Okay, this is governed by the Income Tax Act. So we have our usual, assessment notices, scrutiny notices, show cause notices that we get from the department when we file our TP reports, when we file our tax audit reports for international taxation clients, whatever accounts that we handle. This is all theoretically what we all know from our direct taxation component that we study in our CA final, right? This is a regular part of international taxation. It is a cyclic part. Okay, this is a yearly thing that keeps on happening. The next part that comes, which most people don't know about, is consultancy and advisory. Now, like I said, international taxation is a domain which is not completely governed by one act, right? So this has many components to it. Now, you are not just um, adhering to or catering to the problem of a person who is situated in India. You are actually trying to solve a problem for a person who wants to have a global presence without, you know, having to comply with tax laws of each entity, each country that this entity is situated in individually, right? So that is where advisory and consultancy kicks in. Now, what happens is litigation is a process where you have already filed all your documents, and this thing begins after your documentation is done. Advisory and consultancy is something we give before we file anything or we enter into any transaction. So this part of the this profile is very exciting because every client is new, every situation is new, every problem they have is new, every transaction they are offering to do is new, right? So what basically the advisory and consultancy part of it consists is that a client approaches you that I'm currently say a person or an entity that is a US entity. Now I want to have certain transactions shifted to India for cost cutting, obviously. So obviously there will be some transactions between my parent entity and the entity I establish in India, and there will be a lot of taxation litigation portion involved because both the territories, the US territory and the Indian territory, will claim it as a taxable event, right? So the consultancy point of view is to make the process of this litigation as minimal as possible for the client. So you enter into different, you have to brainstorm different ways, you have to come up with different ideas, you have to come up with different scenarios on how you can place these transactions that a client wants to enter into, such that these do not trigger much of tax litigation for the client, so that it's not a headache for the client to every year go through all the same proceedings, since these proceedings are like not very short timed. Okay, they have a long procedure. The income tax from an Indian perspective is a very slow moving litigation procedures, right? So that is a very interesting part. Then you get to work with different teams across globe. Okay, so say I'm in India, so I can only handle the tax compliance part from an Indian perspective. But when I'm in international taxation and I have an entity that has a presence in multiple countries, I have to look from all those tax perspectives and find one solution, one pathway that makes the litigation process minimal, not just as per our Indian law, but as per all these laws, so that the compliance portion for the client becomes very minimal. Now, this is a part which is obviously this is not a major component of international taxation. It's a niche domain again inside international taxation, but it's a great experience that you have. And then there are also these uh, during our studies, we just hear about advanced pricing agreements and bilateral advanced pricing agreements and DTAAs. So this domain actually gives you a practical exposure of how these things, set in place, how you plug in your requirements with the help of these things and make out the best of it. So, like I said, it's a very, very, very broad domain. Okay. Now, before I move on to how as a fresh CA you enter into this domain, anyone has any doubts or any queries on whatever I just mentioned, or anything that you think I missed out on, or anything that you have in your mind that this must be a part of it, and maybe I skipped it, or you think this should be a part of it?
I have a question, madam.
Yes, please,
मेरे
sir.
को I have got an opportunity to question you. Otherwise, you always question us, na? So being students, so I get an opportunity today. Okay. Few points just from the point of view of a fresher chartered accountant. As you said that your journey is a movement from assurance to taxation. A.
Mhm.
B. As you said that a normal perception of international taxation is only transfer pricing.
Yeah.
Transfer pricing compliance. Now here you are opening up a very new dimension, making us understand. So I was just trying to take notes. If you can go to the screen, what I am
Yeah.
displaying. Litigation is something filing and procedure oriented. Advisory and consulting. So the way we do for Indian clients, similarly you do for international clients here.
Yes.
Okay. And you try to help them in terms of the global operations. So you will be able to advise them on Indian operations.
Yes. Sometimes on international operations as well.
Okay.
So basically, if you go into any big four, what happens is each country will have a transfer pricing team in place, and they take care of that country's local law that governs this transfer pricing transactions, because each country has that. They're governed by OECD and BEPS. Now, the thing is, sometimes what happens is if it's a huge client and its holding is it doesn't matter where the holding is. But if it's a huge giant client, we sometimes even get the opportunity that a client is based out of US, and has no presence in India whatsoever. A client is based out of US, has presence in different countries that are not in India, but the US team requires our support in some taxation advisory for the client for some other country or for US itself. They may engage us as well in that project. So
Okay.
it's not just confined to the Income Tax Act ke wo that 92 series wale sections where you just
92
learn
B,
five
C, D,
sections.
E, F, only five
Yeah,
sections, and then it's more beyond that.
yeah, it's way beyond that. Those
So,
five sections just give a pathway on how the procedural things will be taken care of in the Indian tax territory. But international taxation is a very wide umbrella.
so now there's a question which is coming up. So now the point what we come here is, as chartered accountants, you have also cleared CA. You know that this all is not taught in our syllabus.
Yeah.
Only we are confined to section 92 B, C, D, E, F. Correct. So now
Mhm.
as a fresher, if I my first point is, now as a fresher, if I want to get into this, so
Mhm.
what all the skill sets and what all the source and reference materials, something which I should read? As you mentioned that the countries are governed by OECD and B. What did you mention? Second one?
BEPS, Pillar 2.
BEPS.
BEPS.
Can you just open up this abbreviation BEPS?
I'll have to go through it on my own. They just use the
Okay.
abbreviation.
BPS pillar. OECD I know.
Yeah.
Organization for
Basically,
Economic Cooperation and Development. The only thing is BEPS pillar
I think
2.
that's something on profit shifting, for as far as I remember. We have some Pillar 2 compliances for it.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah,
Here you
someone
go.
like
Here
you
you go.
mentioned.
Base erosion and profit shifting.
Yes.
So I was not knowing it. So therefore I was keen. So we have got some good people, knowledgeable people, or chat GPT doing people. I don't know. Yes, profit sharing pillar 2. Okay. So now the second thing is, how do I prepare for this? A, that's first question. B, once I prepare and if I get opportunity, nice. These opportunities will allow me to do something in India, then coming back to my own work, because that is one question everybody will ask him. If I want to work on my own after some time, will this
Mhm.
allow me? Because this is a very niche and a very specific kind of
Yeah.
work doing for multinational companies only, and multinational
Mhm.
companies usually don't go to the local auditors, they go to
Yeah.
the big fours and the big six. So two things if you can highlight:
Mhm.
how to prepare for this and what are the pathways to it, then I will ask further questions.
Okay, so I'll address your second question first. That what are the pathways after I say I spent 3 years in international taxation? What next? I can't be stuck here forever. I don't want to do a job forever. What next? So, if from what I have seen, from what perspective I have, and what I have seen practically also happening in my team as well, international taxation, first of all, is a is what I can say is like you know a way out of corporate tax only, right? So when you work on all the litigation part and everything, you are already well versed and well prepared to handle those litigation things. Now if you want to shift from international taxation to doing your own practice, you can very easily shift into your corporate tax one wala portion, because the only thing that changes is the sections ka reference and the understanding of the section. That is it. Once you start working in taxation, specifically something that is governed by the income tax law, the procedure remains same for everything. Only your understanding and applicability of a particular section changes. So your transition from international taxation to corporate taxation is very easy. That is the first thing. If you plan that, okay, I'll work for some years, say I'll gain experience for a couple of years in my initial years, and then I want to start my own practice. So international taxation clients are not going to come to me, but corporate tax clients will come to you. There are small companies that will need advisory. There are small companies that will need these procedure oriented filings and everything done, which you are well versed and well capable of. Second thing is, I want to keep working, but I don't want to be in consultancy forever. So, like every MNC needs all these things done. There are big MNCs that actually have their own transfer pricing team. So, your transition from big four to industry is also very easy when you're in international taxation, because every MNC will have a local TP team. Great giants, like you go for Amazon, Microsoft, these people have their own TP teams, internal TP teams. They only engage big fours for things they need a chartered accountant signature for, an independent CS signature for. When we file those audit reports for TP and everything, Form 3 3CEAD, 3CEAB, and all those. Rest everything, everyday, day-to-day transaction, the compliance for that and everything is handled by their in-house TPT or their in-house international transaction team, I should rather say, not TP team. Right. And if you want to, if you aim like after some years, I want to go out of India. I don't want to stay just in the Indian domain. So, like I mentioned, it is not just confined to the Indian law. Once you enter the domain of international taxation, it is a very wide circle. So, any country that you have already dealt with these transactions and everything and the procedural things or advisory or consultancy, your transition into that country with international taxation experience also becomes very easy. Okay. Now, as a fresher, how do I prepare to enter into this very niche domain? So, um, since we all know it's a niche domain, even the recruiter knows it's a niche domain. And very like 1 out of 1,000 people will know what exactly needs to be done or what all procedures do we follow, because they were employed as an article assistant in that team. Otherwise nobody has exposure in this. So whenever an opportunity in international taxation pops up, most people panic that how will I prepare for this? I have no idea what people do. I only have a bookish knowledge, and that too, just a small chunk of it, because it's a very vast domain. I don't know what to do, I don't know where to read. All I read during my studies was just 5 sections and some 5 methods of calculation, arm's length price, and that's it. That was the whole portion of my international taxation. So, the person who will be interviewing you for this role, if he or she goes through your resume and sees that you don't have a specific exposure in transfer pricing, they already have it in their back of their mind that what level of questioning they have to do with you. They are not going to go very deep into, oh, explain me what how BEPS action 13 is applied on something, or how do you how is US implementation of OECD and Indian implementation of BEPS different. Why is there a difference? Why does US follow OECD and India does not follow OECD? They are not going to ask you all of these. What your interviewer in this round, in or any of the rounds, are going to see, you will have one technical round, you will have one partner round. If you're lucky, you'll only have 2 rounds. If you're not lucky, you will have 3 rounds. They hold you sometimes. They keep an intermediary round. Usually, you just have 2 rounds. One is a technical round, other one is a partner round, and then you have the discussions with your HR. Now, when you go into the technical round, obviously they'll ask whatever you have studied in your finals, that you should be thorough with. There is no mercy. Like if they ask you that how do you use TNMM or where do you use TNMM, and you don't know how and where you use it, obviously that lowers your chances to very, very, very low. So what you are expected to know, you should know. Whatever is a part of our curriculum, that is something you should be well versed with. That is something you should have a good grip on. What I suggest is, don't go into very in depth, like knowing what OECD is, what BEPS is, what Pillar 2 is, but have a brief knowledge of it. Just a upper say you should know what these things are, what these terms are, and what and how are these applicable as of now. Just on the surface of it, you should know what these things do. Next thing is, be very well prepared to have to encounter a question on how the Finance Act is uh, implementing the broadening of scope of international taxation. That is a very common question, because every coming Finance Act, there have been some small tweaks that broadens the perspective of international taxation and how these transactions will now be dealt with. Our latest Finance Act gave some reliefs regarding safe harbor rules. Okay. So the interview does not expect you to know what safe harbor rules, what relief did they give, what limits did they exceed, or whatever. They just want you to have that basic understanding that there was something that was mentioned in the Finance Act which may have an impact. They just want to test the capability, that how fast can you contemplate when you are given a situation, that how this is this thing even going to affect my client or not. That is what they're testing. Next thing what they test is excellent communication, be it oral, be it written, because this is something which you don't just have to communicate with an Indian client. There are instances where you have to communicate with a client which who is not in India. Most of the time that's the case, because they are a part of the holding company or the parent company or the ultimate parent. And the problem with communication comes when you're on a call with them and you're not able to understand only what they're trying to say. So your basics on communication have to be very strong. Your email game has to be very strong, because most of the things you will communicate over email. Your time and the client's time does not match. You cannot get on a call with every minor inconvenience. So mostly you mail them, they mail you. Your emails have to be clear, they have to be precise. And this is something that reflects in the way you present yourself in the interview itself. This is not something they'll make you write an email or something. When an interviewer is talking to you, he can very easily make out that what kind of communication skills that does this person have, and will this person be effectively able to communicate with someone who has zero knowledge about this domain. It sometimes also happens that you're dealing with a client personnel who's not at all involved in the taxation things. Okay, they're just from the finance team. They've engaged you as their advisor for international taxation matters. And now you can't throw technical jargons on them because they won't understand it. So your communication, how to communicate, where you can and cannot use these jargons, how clear your communication gets, becomes very important. And thirdly, what an interviewer expects from you is, they don't expect you to memorize all the sections and all the rules and everything that are applicable for this domain. No, they have books available. We have Copilot, we have AI, we have so many tools to get the bare act things online itself. What they want from you is your interpretational skills. How well do you understand something? How well can you understand and apply that? That is what matters in international taxation. And I cleared all my 2 rounds, and they had a technical round, but it was not like they will pressured on that, oh, you should know OECD also, you should know BEPS also, you should know everything from scratch. No, they will train you on job for all these things. You have specific training programs designed for it. They will give you a 2-3 months training on it while you're working on something. So you don't have to worry about that. I don't know what this is. I've never read about it and I can't crack it just because this was not a part of my curriculum. They don't even expect you to have an all-knowing knowledge of it. It's very simple to enter this domain. You have to be very present. You have to be very observant. What I can say, and you have to be well grasping and have a good communication. That's it. Other than that, your basic knowledge will get you through. I hope that covered your question, sir.
Yes, got covered. Now, few more questions from the side of candidates. One
Okay.
question which we had right now from Tushar was, do we need to learn US taxation as well for this field? I think you already gave the answer that every day will be a new day. You have to have that learning attitude. Whenever
Yes.
you get into a new country, you will have to understand, grasp, and work accordingly. Still, any more
Yeah.
questions from the candidates, please? Feel free to ask. Okay, Rahul Walecha has a question. English must be strong, both verbal and written.
See, I won't say that this is the domain which is, very um flexible with language, because you're dealing with people who speak French, you're dealing with people who speak German. So obviously, there has to be one single medium of communication for between both of you. You don't have to have a very flowerful vocabulary for it, but a strong grip on it, that whatever is being communicated, you understand it, you can contemplate it, and you can move forward with it.
So, because whenever you are talking internationally, at least the base language has to be English. You can't even compromise on that. That's one thing, Rahul. That will be like a basic need. Secondly, Pranav Pai has a question. Pranav, if you can mention the city where you are from. He has a question. What type of questions get asked in M&A job role? Okay, so you have asked a different question to a person who's not in that particular field. But I was curious on one thing, Fatima.
Hmm. Yeah.
When you are into this, like as you said, I am referring to the chart that when there is advisory and consulting, so some person is trying to shift some transactions. There might be
Hmm.
some mergers or some acquisitions or some subsidiaries getting merged or something. So on all those things, definitely you will be interacting with M&A team also and the due
Yes.
diligence team also.
Yes. Yes. So, as a part of international taxation team, you have to deal with multiple internal teams also. Okay. You have to, sometimes you have to deal with your statutory audit team also, because the client is a statutory audit client as well. And you are helping them with some advisory, not litigation, because litigation then becomes prohibited under that Companies Act wala list. But you are helping them with some advisory, on call advisory or something. So you have to, have a smooth communication with your statutory taxation team. There might be some transactions of, selling or buying of shares or everything. So you have to have a good communication with your transaction tax team. And if the client has an Indian establishment, that say the parent is in US, but Indian subsidiary, it has a presence in India through a subsidiary, not just a PE, not just a permanent establishment. So there are corporate tax matters also, like regular filings, the tax audit, the tax litigation. Apart from international taxation wala litigation, you have your corporate tax litigation also. So your corporate tax team is also involved with the client. So it has to be a very smooth inter-team communication as well, because the client is not going to reach out each team individually. The client is just going to inform it to one team, whoever they get in contact with first, and it kind of becomes your job to grasp that information from that team. You have to have a very regular check with all the teams that you're cross working with, and you can't go to the client with an excuse also that it was never communicated to us, because for the client they have employed EY for n number of services. They are not going to reach out individually to everyone that I need this done from you, I need this done from you. They gather everything and they dump it. Especially when it comes to taxation, they don't differentiate between international taxation and corporate taxation. They will club it all together and they'll dump it on one team. that this all needs to be done. I need safe harbor also, but I need tax planning also. So they communicated that to the corporate tax team. Now it is your job to sit with that team to get whatever the crux that was applicable for your team, whatever you have to do. So an inter-team communication plus an intra-team communication, both are very important in this domain.
At time it sounds scary. Too much of work to be done on your own. Is that the case, or you have supports available?
Um,
Because
so
what you said right now, so is this like as an individual you have to think, or there would be a set of managers and people saying, yeah, this will be done by this team, this will be done by that. Client will dump everything on you, I understand.
yeah,
But then your partners, your senior
yes, yes,
managers, they will bifurcate it for you.
yeah,
Correct,
yes,
huh?
yes, yes, absolutely,
So,
yes.
so one Fatima is speaking, see, other Fatima got scared, She's saying it is more hectic than audit domain. Is that the case?
No, no, not the case. Because, see, audit is an ongoing process, it never ends. TP and international taxations have their own seasons and cycles. Okay. So when I talk about the litigation and the transfer pricing part of this domain, the cycle starts somewhere from mid-August and stretches to end of November. Okay, and then we have one more small cycle, that is the month of April. That's it. That's the cycle for TP. For safe harbor also, it falls somewhere between this cycle only. The advisory thing is something which is very fickle. It can come as and when, because you can't say when the client is thinking of expansion or when the client is thinking of liquidation or merger or whatever. So that is something that comes as and when, but it is not as hectic as audit that 11 months a year you're just engaged in something doing continuously over and over again.
Yeah, because the way you narrated it, even somebody got scared. So even I was thinking, अरे इतना काम करना पड़ता है. So that's not the case. Nice. Well, Krishna has a question here.
Mhm.
I think one question is there which we cannot answer, neither you nor me, that what salaries, because that is the HR as supposed
Yeah,
to decide. Neither me
yeah.
or Fatima, none of us can answer them. Uh, Krisha Sangvi, sorry. Krisha Sangvi has asked any certification course that can be done to help for this profile. I will make this question a bit more generic right now.
Mhm.
You all the fresh started accountants nowadays are, thanks to all the social media and all the self-proclaimed gurus, you are made, all the fresh started accountants are made to think that their CA degree is insufficient. So you need to do these certificates, you need to do these master classes, you need to do this and that, and then you may be employed. That's one. And another question I want to ask is the ATS friendly resume ka hype. So I think please answer both of them one by one. First
Okay.
one is,
So,
do we need a specific certification? A.
mhm.
And secondly, that ATS resume thing, also clarify that to them.
Okay. So if you really ask me about certification, I would say no, don't waste your time, effort, and money on it. Because once you're employed in any niche domain, I'm not just talking about international taxation, but broadly in any domain which is very niche in itself. What happens is, for the first couple of weeks or months, depending on when you join, if you join mid cycle, it shortens down to weeks. If you join in a like a lean period, it extends to months also. The company itself will give you trainings and certification licenses and links for getting all the certifications that you want to do from or at the cost of company itself. So it is not the case that you have n number of these certifications and these are listed on your resume, then only your resume will be considered. That is not at all the case. Unless and until you find a job description where they specifically say that I need this certification, no certification is going to help your cause. Trust me, nothing is going to help it. What I do suggest is that um, what helps basically in international taxation or taxation in general is a very good set hand on the MS Office workspace. A good, like very good command on your Excel and your Word skills and your PowerPoint skills, because you'll be using these three very, very, very often. So you don't need to get like a paid certification course with a fancy degree to to flaunt it that, oh, I know this. You just need to have basic skills which will help you in your on your job. That's it. There are people out there who who advertises that for international taxation you need this certification. For OECD you can get this certification done. But the thing is that once you start working on OECD, you will realize that what you learn in the certification is very less relevant to what I'm actually working in, because I'm working in depth with one chunk of it. So it becomes actually very irrelevant to pay for something like that and get a certification. It doesn't guarantee anything that, oh, I have the certification, so I have a guaranteed pathway into international taxation. Second thing, upon the ATS friendly resume thing, so what I prefer is having a minimal resume, not a very fancy one, not something very flashy. And like the text is readable, it's not too cluttered that you wanted to pour in too much information. I've done this also, this also, this also. Okay, you have a lot of exposure. Try to put it in words which are concise yet explanatory. And your ATS friendly thing, what I also suggest is once go through the job description. You can't really do this for this profile unless and until you have a specific exposure in this. Try to understand what all are the requirements for what all requirements are they looking for in a candidate. I don't have the post with me right now. I'll share it with you. That was a post actually made by the director of my team who shared it over LinkedIn a while back when we were open for some vacancies. So nowhere where they mentioned the requirements was it written that you need to have a very strong hold on the the very technical things or everything. There were very small, very, very generic and very basic things written in it. You need to have strong communication. You need to have a good hand on Excel. You need to have um, basic knowledge of working knowledge of how the act works, how you can benefit from it. That's it. If I get it, I'll share it with Sir, and maybe he can circulate with all of you. So it becomes more easier. And your resume does not have to be, very overpowering with taxation things to be selected into an international taxation domain. That is also one thing that people are afraid that, oh, during my articleship, I did not have much taxation exposure. So how will I ever be considered for this? So I'm a living example. That's not a requirement because I shifted from assurance to taxation. So it doesn't really matter what things you have worked on. What really matters is how fast can you learn something, how fast can you uh, adapt to this environment, and how fast you are able to grasp whatever is given to you.
Good. I'm just taking few notes so that it will
Yeah.
help them.
Yeah.
One more question was I missed out. Do they allow, so while working, do they allow using of AI tools, GPT, to structure email and all? That's one question Fatima has from.
Okay. So to an extent, yes, but when you're using AI, you have to be very careful, especially when you're working with a company. Say that's a Indian establishment of a company abroad, mostly a company that has a parent in any other country, and they've just set up a subsidiary in India for their back end operations. These companies are private limited companies, so that any data relating to these companies is very sensitive. This cannot go out. So unless and until you have a license version of an AI, which mostly the big fours do, even I have that, you're not advised to upload any of such data upon the AI tool, whatever you're using for this. And even after using the AI tools, you still need to, cross check it once or twice or even thrice. Sometimes it goes through multiple layers of scrutiny amongst the team only, because there have been cases where people just copy pasted the mail from chat gpt, and in the end it's saying, tell me if I can require any further assistance, and that floated to the client. So you can use AI, obviously, yes. AI gives a great help, especially in the litigation portion where you have to draft like big documents. But you have to use it very smartly, not like just I pasted something or I uploaded something on AI and I copy pasted it for the client, and that's rolled out without any common sense being applied to it.
These things have happened. अभी तो वो to that level that even the president of Pakistan also ended up sharing the draft on its own Twitter note without even deleting that to be shared. So it clearly showed that it was given to him to be given, to be published
Yeah.
as it is. So that's the problem, that it's always that intelligence is artificial. We need to be human enough to understand that. Correct. Yes. Any Pranav Pai has a question in the technical round. Do they concentrate about international taxation only, or do they ask about India's or other topics? Pranav, I think Fatima covered that. Fatima said that you need not have international taxation knowledge, but whatever you have written in your CV, you should be able to explain that. You should, I'll use one word, you should be able to articulate your work.
Yeah.
Whatever work you have done, how did you receive the information? How did you check it? How did you conclude that whatever you are concluding is right? Did you gather some evidence, and how did you put it across in the report? So if that cycle you are able to explain, anybody taking your interview will come to know that yes, you know what you have done. The things are, despite of all the technology, all the jargon, the things are still very simple. That the employer wants to understand, that will you be able to understand the requirement of the client? Will you be able to work on that requirement and then finally communicate the same to your client that this is going to happen? So that's how that loop has to be very clear. So they test you on the basis of your overall working. So don't burden yourself. That's what I was asked questions. No certifications, extra certifications needed. No extraordinary working needed. But yes, and the employer knows that this work doesn't happen in smaller firms. One more question has come in, Fatima. How easy it is to move abroad after gaining experience in international taxation?
Okay. Easy, nothing is easy. Life is a struggle. You will get to know that very soon. So
Yeah, you
after
are
some
scaring
time,
them.
I'm not scaring. This is actually, people actually think that, oh, once I become a CA, everything becomes easy. It's actually the opposite of it. Things will now start becoming even worse day per day. But uh, you know, putting it into words that it becomes very easy once you've had an exposure in international taxation is not true. Y- If you have the capability, the skill set, which which is required for an international move, it doesn't really matter how much of an experience you have or in which domain of an experience, or in which domain do you have that experience in. What really matters is your on job skills, how you develop it, how you keep yourself up to date, how you upskill yourself. That is what um you know decides your next move. It doesn't decide that, oh, I've worked 5 years in international taxation, so moving abroad become easy for me. There will be n number of opportunities that will be open for you in abroad. Being qualified, being capable of those opportunities, rather not qualified though we all are, being capable of those opportunities, being in a position to grasp those opportunities is more relevant.
Okay. So it's kind of a reality check coming to all of you today. Which country, Saraswati has a question. Which country is you can move? Saraswati has a question if you want to.
Okay. So, see, any company, any company, I'm so sorry, any country which has a presence of MNCs requires professionals for dealing with the international taxation perspective of their business. So you can think of any country that has an MNC and has an international taxation problem. Just leave out the tax heavens out of it, because obviously there it won't be much of an effect unless and until the holding is in India, because then the other provisions of the act apply, and then the taxation shifts to India, taxation burden shifts to the Indian entity. But most countries, I think most of the countries have this opportunity in this domain, and it's not very limited or restricted to just India or US or UK. You can have a broad selection of countries wherever you like. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Saraswati. Anybody else having some more questions? Okay, Rahul is how to get into Big Four since niche field, so very less vacancy. Also, whether any opportunities in industry apart from Big Four. Matlab, you are asking like a question for general availability or to the specific international taxation thing, Rahul. We have one more session tomorrow. Fatima's friend only, Aman Jain, is going to take a session. You know Aman, na Fatima?
Yeah.
Aman is from Wipro. He's working with Wipro,
Yes.
na? So
Yes.
Aman is going to guide them tomorrow on Wipro Business Finance.
Mm-hmm.
All my students are going to be put on test. Chalo ab karo. Okay, Rahul has a question specific to international taxation.
So if I talk about international taxation at entry level, mostly industry does not prefer freshers for the international taxation department of their team. Why? Because see, in consulting, you are trained on job. In industry, they already have such bulky transactions to deal with. They actually cannot train you for that while they employ you. So, what industry prefers is someone with an experience of 2 or 3 or 4 years who knows how things work across globe, who can be a good fit for their organization, who knows how the industry that the client is situated in at that moment, be it media industry or entertainment industry or whatever, how transactions for that particular industry work and move, how compliance in each presence across the globe works. They don't honestly, they do not appreciate giving spoon feeding that knowledge to a new hire, that this is to be done this way, this is to be done this way, this is what you need to do for compliance, this is what you need to do for litigation things, this is how we'll frame that transaction. They expect that from the person who's coming in. So at an entry level, industry doesn't have much opportunities in international taxation. Once you've had a very rich experience in it, your shift to industry becomes easier.
So that means the gaining of the exposure has to be initially with the larger firms like you are into one of them, and then accordingly it can go further.
Yes.
As you said, they don't have time and bandwidth available. They will definitely go to a firm. You have the expert. So the
Yeah.
work is being done by us. Correct. Oh, true. Great. Fatima, that one work from home opportunities, if I can answer this question and Fatima madam can also add to it, the work from home opportunity now is slowly and gradually going away. Even if you are working, you have to be at the base location of the company where they are hiring you. They may just ask you to work from home for a day or two in a week, but they want you more in office now. Fatima, can you add to this, please?
Okay. So like you said, that really is the case. Companies do not actually prefer work from home. They prefer a hybrid model.
Hmm.
Like 2 days work from home or 3 days work from home, depending on how much of your physical presence is required in the office. And initially, as a fresher into a very niche domain, they actually prefer that you come to office more regularly, more often, because you already don't have a working knowledge of whatever work you're doing. You just have some theoretical knowledge. They have to train you, and you have not even been a part of conversations, of meetings, that at what level they are going to happen. So they want you physically there to witness it, to actually understand how things flow. This is one part of it. Second part of it is the litigation things. So when you are involved in litigation process, you cannot expect that I'll work remotely on everything, because till date, all submissions that we make to the income tax department, or the AOs, the TPOs, the commissioner of income tax, the DRP submissions, ITAT submissions, everything, we do file it online. You also have to file offline copies of it. There are things that you need to do, that you need to be physically present in the office for. So a remote opportunity will, I think, never be available in the international taxation domain, be it firm, be it industry, because there is a lot of paperwork that needs to be handled. A hybrid work culture is actually preferred, because it gives ease and that flexibility to the employee, so that they're not very stringent that, oh, 5 days a week you have to be here only. You can come and go at your convenience. Whenever it is required, you can work from home, and you can manage the work accordingly.
Yes. Saraswati has a question. What is benchmarking into TP? Fatima, can you answer this?
Okay, so benchmarking for TP, can you please clarify in what aspect are you asking this? Because benchmarking is actually a process that we do while our documentation. So is that what you're referring to, or is it something else that you want me to clarify? Oh, okay, you want to know the process of benchmarking. So benchmarking is basically every transaction, every international transaction that takes place, whether that is a specified transaction as per my law A, what a method of computation of ALP would I be using on it? Why did I derive on that method? Backing and reasons for deriving for that method, comparables for that method, and the actual result, along with scenario analysis on when that method is applied, how my ALP has been derived. This is a process of benchmarking that we follow when we make a TP study report for the entity which has international transactions. I hope that answered your question, or do you want me to elaborate something else? An
Saraswati.
example. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So say I have a subsidiary in India. My parent entity is in US, and I've taken, I have some sale of services, sale of goods to that entity outside India. I manufacture goods in India. Then I sell those goods to my US parent entity. They use it for their internal production, and then they give out the final product to the customer. Okay, now here I cannot use a comparable method. See, now I have five methods. So now I have to evaluate what method can I use for calculation of ALP. Then I'll shorten it down. Like, we have five methods, we cancel out methods what I cannot use. Ultimately, I'll be left with one method. That method, how will I actually practically apply that method on that entity. Why that method has been chosen, I will use all those reasonings that I'm applying on my choice of method, and I'll document that as well, because that will be raised as a question in my TP order, that when you chose this method for valuation, why was this method chosen? Why was not some other method chosen? And then how that method is applied. And then we perform a scenario analysis. Basically, that's a sensitivity analysis. The 10% lower, 10% higher, the sensitivity analysis we perform, and we see that whether the ALP actually suits us or not.
So in the example you gave, are we supposed to use resale price method?
Sorry, can you come again?
In the example you gave, the sale of wood from India to abroad, from subsidiary to
Mm-hmm.
the parent. So are we supposed to use
Yeah.
resale price method over here, or?
No, no, we use cost plus method. Resale price method is used when I'm producing X product, I'm giving it to my parent entity, and parent entity is selling X product. In
Oh,
my example, I am producing X product, I'm giving it to my parent entity. My parent entity is using that X product to manufacture A, and then the parent entity is selling out the product A. So RPM cannot be used in that case.
okay. Can you give me in which sector we use which method?
It's not sector specific, it is
Mhm.
transaction specific.
Yeah,
It is
can,
not in like in service industry will always use TNM. That's not the case.
okay.
It depends on what nature of transaction you have.
Okay, can you give me transactions based, like any particular transaction based, like
Any particular transaction for?
I mean like for TNMM and CUP.
So for CUP, basically if there is some service that I'm giving to my parent entity, as well as that service I'm giving locally as well, there I use CUP. For TNMM, if I'm a backend software development services that I'm providing to my entity, and that is the only thing that I'm providing just to my parent entity, nothing to any of the competitors or any local other service providers, that's where I shift to TNMM. Resale price method I already mentioned, cost plus I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So, Saraswati, are you satisfied? Saraswati has made good use of the conversation today, as far as I understand.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. So, any more questions? We have got some good amount of silent people not asking, just simply absorbing what is going on. Uh-huh. Any more questions from anyone else? Okay. So the silence says या तो all clear है या totally clear है. So ठीक है. So respecting everybody's time, I think we can wrap this up, Fatima.
Yeah.
Okay, Rahul has one question. Ma'am, it is mainly about transfer pricing or FEMA compliance and other. Rahul, can you just address this, Fatima?
Okay. See, transfer pricing, like I already mentioned, is a part of international taxation, an important part of international taxation, but not an entire an umbrella that covers international taxation. International taxation is very broad and ever growing. There is no bounds to it, that only this much transfer pricing work is need that is what needs to be done in uh, what we call international taxation domain, and then you're through. No, in transfer pricing is a part of it, is a major part of it, because since we operate as an Indian consultant to most clients, that is the prima facie requirement, that we need to make that TP study report, we need to file the form 3C EAD and everything, but it's not an entire coverage of it. FEMA, I have not personally had any interference of FEMA or any relevance of FEMA yet. Maybe I encounter that sometime in the coming assignments that I do, but it's not an entirety of TP compliance, if that's what your question is. Sir, you're on mute.
Sorry, I went on mute. I think Rahul also has got his query addressed, and now we can wrap up our session. They got some real good reality checks. You made them feel that international taxation is too much of it, but at the end, we understand it has got seasonal things. It's not like audit. So I will just recap a couple of things, Fatima, if you can just agree with me so that it becomes a takeaway of the session. It's different from corporate taxation and it's not only confined to TP, it's much more than that. Under this, you will have international taxation related litigation, which requires filing and procedure oriented. You can also have opportunities with firms coming under advisory and consulting capacity where various transactions are being carried out and decided and expansions are being done. There you go, study them, and as a part of a bigger problem which comes to your firm, you handle into the taxation aspect of it. The countries are governed by two basic pillars, OECD and BEPS pillar 2, that is base erosion and profit sharing. So friends, if you are getting into an interview like this, you should be at least knowing these basic terminologies. So at least they'll say कि हाँ तुम पढ़ के आए हो, you have been taken some keen interest in coming up, and then if they ask you specific questions, you say that I have got the general idea but I have not worked on to this area. So at least they will realize that you are keen on this. Correct? And as a fresher, your basics should be clear. Your adaptability and how fast you can grasp things is required. There is no specific mandated requirement everywhere. Please listen to it carefully because I get hundreds of queries on this. ATS friendly resume. No, not needed. Short-term courses and certifications will not add lot of value to you because the employer has his own learning and development team to train the new hires because they want the way you have to work. They will tell you. What they want is your learning capability, your ability to learn. Have I summarized it properly, Fatima?
Yes,
Okay, great.
I think that as much covers it. And if anyone from the crowd has any further queries on it, I'm always available on LinkedIn to address it.
Yeah, please. So LinkedIn, you can reach out to Fatima. Fatima is available as Fatema Kachwala on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So thank you very much to the audience and a big thank you to Fatima also. Fatima, I really appreciate you pulling out a time on a working day and that too on a Monday to address these queries to the new chartered accountants. A heartfelt thank you from all of our side. And if I can ask all the participants to put up a word of recognition and appreciation on the chat for Fatima so that she also feels that sitting here in an evening helps understand something and providing some value to the upcoming chartered accountants.
Always an absolute pleasure, sir.
Okay, so Rahul says interesting field to pursue. Saraswati says thank you very much. Fatima also says thank you. Fatima saying thank you to Fatima. Great. Okay. So thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much, Fatima. I'll wrap up this session and wish all the best of luck to you as well as to the fresh started accountants. Thank you very much.
Thank you.